City Council Member, Agency Director, Authority Member Doris.
Here.
Molly. Oh, I think he's trying to get in. Molly. City Council Member, Agency Director, Authority Member Doris.
Roll call vote, please.
City Council Member, Agency Director, Authority Member Doris.
Yes.
Molly.
Yes.
Mann.
Yes.
Vice Mayor, Vice Chair Chris.
Yes. It's approved 4-0. Roll call for the Housing Authority.
Housing Authority Members Harvey.
You're muted, Cassandra.
So Harvey is here. I think something's going on with her microphone. Molly.
Yes.
Mann.
Yes.
Vice Chair Chris.
Present.
Chair Zetto, absent, and we have a quorum.
Okay. We'll move on to the invocation. Daryl, you want to do it real quick?
Sure.
Councilmember Doris did it at the last meeting.
You're on mute.
Okay.
Daryl.
Father, we thank you right now. We thank you, Lord, for what you've done for this city. We pray right now, God, that as we go into another season coming up on spring, we pray, God, that everything that we need spring forward in freshness and in newness. Give us wisdom on what we need to do to continue to make this city great. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, we're going to move on to presentations. Are we doing that, Jason, for the Justice Sunday volunteers?
Let's verify that they're on. I know we talked about if we were still virtual, that, but if they can speak up and see if they're on, we can do it for sure. I just want to make sure Nigel or anybody of them are here.
I think they were waiting for us to come back, wasn't they, Jason?
Yeah, we'll do it when we're back in person.
Okay.
If not, I can double check because they could be here and you just can't hear them if they don't have their name listed. And he's here by phone. So Nigel, if you are here, you would need to press *6 for me to recognize you.
Yeah, I just confirmed they prefer to be in person, so we'll scrap that one until we're in person.
We're going to move on to ED1. Okay. Dr. Trong?
All right, let me share screen. Everyone sees, hopefully?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, great. So I mentioned earlier, we have very good news. We're all tired of this, the bad news that I bring on a regular basis, and I feel good. All of us feel good, really, at this point, because we're heading in the right direction for Corona. So this is from 2 weeks ago. The whole world pretty much had reached the peak. And at that time, North America, South America, Western Europe, Australia was facing the hot spots. Russia and most of Africa was doing okay. Fast forward to now, we're still coming out of the hot spots. South America is clearing up a little bit, but the purple spots from Western Europe has now gone to Russia. But Africa still remains pretty light. If you look at all the cases in the world, we are now coming down on that peak. As you can see, 390 million cases, 5.7 million deaths a year to date. So it's good. We are, tipping, improving. This is the United States. From 2 weeks ago, we were already seeing a drop in our total cases. But it was mostly pretty much all over the United States. Fast forward now, we're really doing really well. The 7-day average is really plummeting. The 14-day average also, hospitalizations, test cases also dropping significantly because deaths lag. The cases of hospitalization, we're still seeing a rise in deaths. And as you can see, it's now more orange than purple, and it looks like the country is lightening up in terms of cases. So it's good news. So for the most part, in the United States, every city you look at, for the most part, cases are down significantly. Hospitalizations are also going down. Deaths are trickling up because it's usually a delay. And every city you look at, Carolina, Oklahoma State, every state, even California, as you can see here, the curves, very favorable for us. So as I mentioned, going to the California cases, the 7-day cases are very favorable. The 14-day cases also favorable, 55% drop, 48% drop for tests, hospitalizations at 12% drop. Really, the first county to emerge from this appears to be Monmouth County in the middle of California. We're lightening up in terms of our total cases. Imperial County is still seeing a lot in Southern California. For the most part, we're coming out of the fall. Here in LA County, this is a very obvious sign. The 7-day is just really, really nicely dropping. Our hospitalizations are still high. Deaths are now climbing a little bit because it's all delay. But overall, it's favorable. The same 3 areas in LA County are the Antelope Valley, San Fernando Valley, and downtown LA and East LA. Year to date, we're at 15,000 cases reported last week, 2.7 million total. For us locally, as of 2 days ago, as you can see here, our new cases reflecting, also plummeting, reflecting what's happening in LA County, California, and the country. And our deaths are also on the lower side. So these are all good news and very nice to present. So what's the forecast? As you can see here, national forecast for new hospital admissions based on COVID continues to trend downward and predicting out to March the 1st, really continuing to drop significantly. And for predictions of California, similarly, we are seeing a downward trend all the way out to March the 1st. So again, more good news. This is the tracking by the CDC of which pathogen is now predominant. Purple is Omicron B11. Delta used to be really bad, but has now been taken over by a milder Omicron 1. And really, pretty much it's 99.9%. So we really don't see anything else so far. But there's always a but. We always have to be careful, look what's coming around the corner. And this is coming around the corner. There's a new Omicron variant, subvariant, called the BA2 subvariant. And it's known as the Stealth Omicron because it looks exactly like Omicron on the test. When we saw Delta compared to Omicron, we could see that Omicron was different from Delta when we did the testing. But now this one is basically very much alike in terms of its genetic makeup. It's a little bit more infectious, but according to Walensky, which is the head of the CDC, it's not really bad than the original B1 strain. There's about 50 countries involved now, including the United States. It's slightly superior in infectiousness. So far, it's only 1.5%, less than 5% of the United States. There's a modest transmission advantage, but nothing like compared to Omicron versus Delta. If you recall the previous map, Omicron just took over Delta. This one is very similar, and it's not any more severe, and the vaccine looks like it's working. So what countries are involved? So far, India has the highest rate being picked up at 50+%. The next country is Denmark at 40%. And then Singapore, Sweden, and United Kingdom beginning to see more cases. So what are a little bit more detail about this BA2 Stealth Omicron subvariant? So it differs in about 40 amino acids. That's just details, but this map is kind of explains very well. If you look at the genetic makeup, it's like a branch. And the Alpha, which is the original 2019 coronavirus, had this type of DNA makeup. The one next to it, the Beta, which is the one that came out of England in October 2020, very close to Alpha in genetic makeup. It's kind of like the same branch. The Gamma came out of South Africa, if you recall. And then the Delta was so different that basically it pretty much started a whole new pandemic on its own. It's like a whole new tree almost. And then the BA1, which is the Omicron, more similar to the Alpha, Gamma, Betas than the Delta. And here, the BA2 that's been picked up, it's more of a sibling, really, rather than a whole different branch. So it's more of a tiny sub-branch, and it's very similar. And although it's more infectious, more contagious, it doesn't seem to be more toxic or deleterious. So that's the only good news. But we're keeping an eye on it. Just a little bit more information comparing the Omicron. 21K is the B1, the current one in the United States. 21L is the B2 that's flowing around India, Denmark, Singapore, and they're very different from Delta. But as you can see here, the homology for 1 and 2 are very, very similar. And look how different it is from Delta. So it's just another piece of information to tell us that it's hard to differentiate Omicron 1 and 2 because they're so much alike on the PCR. But tests are being developed to better differentiate it and follow it.
Pay attention, there'll be a quiz on that later.
Sorry, I get a little bit get into detail. It's kind of my fault. I apologize.
Chemistry and physiology class.
For sure. 10-point quiz, okay? Okay, finally, vaccines. We are now seeing a dip in our vaccination rates. We used to be 1 million cases. Now we're like 680,000 cases. Most of the country is 64% with 2 shots. And at this rate, we'll probably reach the 75th percentile sometime in the summer, late summer. More data regarding vaccinated, unvaccinated. This graph shows if you're unvaccinated, your likelihood of getting getting infection is 2 times as high as the fully vaccinated. And your average daily death, really, you're 20 times higher likely to die if you get the infection versus if you're fully vaccinated, if you're unvaccinated. So it's a very telling graph. So looking at LA County, really 69% received 2 shots, which is fully vaccinated. And then 1/3 of that of us received the 3rd shot, which is the booster. And the most, as usual, the most vaccinated are our seniors. 90% received 2 shots and 60% received a 3rd shot. So we're protecting the right group of people so far, the most vulnerable. This graph hasn't changed pretty much. African American is the green, Latinx, American Indian natives, white, and then the Asian group. Again, nothing has changed. It's going to take us a while to catch up to get all 80%, 75, 80% vaccinated. This one is a little bit interesting. This breaks down the age group. And as you can see here, the light green is the 18 to 29, and the dark green is the younger 12 to 17. If you can see here, initially the vaccinations were low because it became approved around April or May. But as soon as they say you gotta, in order to go back to school, you have to be vaccinated, and that mandate came through, and boy, the kids really everybody just got vaccinated, even surpassed the young adults. So basically, junior high and high school kids just surpassed the vaccinations. And that's African American and Latinx. The moment you say there's a mandate, you can't go back to school without it, boom, everyone gets vaccinated. So mandates work, although we prefer not to resort to mandates, but they do work in terms of vaccinations. Going to our Lancaster City, we are at 64.6% receiving just the first dose, and Palmdale at 73% closer. LA County is 81.5% of the population getting the first dose. I'm going to pause there a little bit. As you recall, we were asked, the deputy mayors were asked to come up with a City of Lancaster playbook. We had started it in January 1st, but now we're kind of pretty much done with it. And just to summarize, we got information from WHO, the NIH, CDC. We put it all together. And then we also added our own experience and our own city level response to this playbook. And basically it follows the 6 phases of the WHO classification of a pandemic. And each phase has its own response. And basically we put together recommended actions before, during, and after the pandemic. And the 5 principles of that includes planning, coordination, communication, situation monitoring, reducing the spread of disease, and healthcare provisions. And each phase, we basically went through all 5 things that we need to do depending on the phase. It's a large, Larry and I talked about this. It's a large document. It's about 19 to 20 pages. We had to find that balance between being comprehensive and general versus small and detailed. So we'll see. We basically, all of us had input. Maria talked about the nursing hospital component, Tiffany, the testing component. And then we forwarded to Jason's team, and they took over and added the city response component. So I think we're complete. I should be able to send it out this evening or tomorrow morning. And then we can go from there and get your blessings, the city council's blessings. And then just a reminder, Super Bowl is this weekend. It's going to be a lot of people gathering indoor and outdoors. There are guidelines, avoid closed spaces, avoid crowded places. Close contact settings are kind of unsafe. Gather outdoors if possible, get vaccinated if you can. Improve ventilation, keep the gathering small. And if you are sick, please stay away. Wear a mask when you can. Keep a distance while you're eating. Hands clean, etc. So just a reminder. And that's all I have.
Any questions? City Clerk?
I do, Marvin.
Okay.
I'm hearing that LA County, again, with the mask, is leaving it up to, or the state of California is leaving it up to the different counties. What are you hearing for LA County for the mask? And what do you suggest for Lancaster City?
I think where you have really high vaccination rates, masking would be okay to be off outdoors. But for us, our vaccination rates are so low, it may be, I don't think we're there yet. But that's the safe conservative recommendation. And the recommendation is not to protect the public. It's basically if you have the infection and you're at high risk for spreading to other people. So the mask prevents you from infecting others rather than you not picking it up from someone else. Because the mask that we use to prevent picking it up is an N95. And those are hard to wear. Even as clinicians, I can't wear it for more than 20 minutes. I have to step outside, take it off, and recover before I put it on. So it's unreasonable to require people to wear such a difficult mask to wear. But I want to hear from Tiffany and from my colleagues as well, their thoughts. But right now, because of the low vaccination rates in the 60s for our cities, we may not be there yet.
I did hear today that the county is still continuing to plan on maintaining the mask mandate until our numbers are incredibly low, both positivity rate and hospitalization. So,
yeah, I think that makes sense in the way that, the palpable sense is that things are getting better. Like the Omicron surge feels like it's ending, which it definitely feels that way when you work in the hospital, and it's great news. On the other hand, when you look at our numbers, it's only good if you're immune, and you're only immune if you've either had 3 shots or you've had 2 shots and an infection. You need to have immunity, and if you're not immune competent, meaning you're a transplantation patient, on immunosuppressive drugs or something, or cancer chemotherapy, you can't be protected completely. There are other things you can do. So we still have a lot of vulnerable people in our community, whether it was out of a decision not to get vaccinated or because they just cannot be immune. So it's a way of us protecting each other still until we get the numbers down a bit lower.
And Daryl, to add, the state sets the rules. The county can be more restrictive. We must abide by the county's rules, and we can be more restrictive from the county, but not less restrictive.
Right. I'd heard that February 15th was a date that some counties may or may not lift the mask mandate, and that's what I was referring. I wasn't sure if anyone else had heard that, and I already was getting emails about, are we lifting ours? So I know we're under as a city, the county. So I just wanted to see where everyone. Yeah, thank you.
As of the Board of Supervisors meeting today, from what I understand, there are several other counties in California that are lifting, but LA County does not appear to be one of them.
Any other questions?
Oh,
go ahead, Dr. Trong.
I think when you look at that map where it's kind of purple, we're still kind of purple. I think if you lift in Mono County, it would make sense. But we're still so purple, there's still a higher risk of infecting the vulnerable.
Almost everyone who's coming in, by the way, is either unvaccinated or not boosted. We're still seeing kids come in who clearly haven't had time to get fully vaccinated or not vaccinated at all. So so that's still the group. I mean, if you want to protect yourself, you got to think about your immune status. So
Dr. Stock, question. So within the group that you just said who's coming in,
yeah,
is there a specific age group or no? Is it just widespread?
Well, so we're seeing fewer people just coming in. As far as we're seeing children get hospitalized still, that is a new group because it spread to kids, and kids, by and large, are acting the same way. They are protected by vaccine. They're protected both from hospitalization and long COVID, and their rates are less than about probably half that of adults, but they could still get it. So kids that aren't vaccinated are getting it, and we're still seeing unvaccinated adults coming in, or not. I would say not up to date is the proper language now. Not boosted adults who should be boosted at that point, and there's still people dying. So it's still out there, but the numbers are dwindling, which is great. I think this thing ran through the population. Maybe 40% of the population will end up with Omicron before the surge is over, which is in a way a blessing because it means nobody wants to catch it, but if you catch it, you're probably immune from Omicron again. So,
on the floor and in the ICU, we're seeing 50s and 60s more admitted and sicker. We're not seeing the 70s and 80s and the 90 population like we used to at the beginning of the pandemic. So it has shifted downwards towards the 50s and the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Again, 70, 80% are unvaccinated or under-vaccinated. Sorry, Tiffany, to cut. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Sort of tagging on to Dr. Stock there. I think something that's just important for folks to keep in mind too is if you've had a previous infection, there is some more lasting immunity. I think it was CDC came out saying that immunity from infection lasts about 20 months now, because that's how long they've been testing. However, it's important to note that when a virus mutates dramatically, such as it did between Delta and Omicron, the immunity that you have is not going to be sufficient to protect you from a totally different strain. And so personally, I've encountered several patients who have had a previous infection, thought that they were protected from that previous infection and their antibodies there. But with Omicron, it's such a different virus that unfortunately they weren't, and they got it a second time.
Agree.
Okay, City Clerk, public comment?
At this time, anyone wishing to come in on ED1, please press *9. I will announce the last 4 digits of your calling number when it is your turn to speak. Please state your name and eliminate any background noise. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Please press *9 at this time if you wish to come in on ED1. No speakers at this time.
Okay, hearing no speakers, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. ED1.
Second that.
Okay, we have a motion to approve ED1, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Roll call vote.
City Council Member, Agency Director, Authority Member Doris,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Mann,
Yes.
Vice Mayor, Vice Chair Chris.
Yes. And it's approved unanimously. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate what you guys do. Appreciate your comments, everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to HACC1. Do we have a presentation? Are there any speakers?
At this time, anyone wishing to come in on HACC1, please press *9. I will announce the last 4 digits of your calling number when it is your turn to speak. Please state your name and eliminate any background noise. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Please press *9 at this time if you wish to come in on HACC1. No speakers at this time.
Okay, we'll waive the reading. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move that we adopt resolution number HA 1-22.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
We lose the city clerk?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was still muted. I was talking. Housing Authority members Harvey,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Mann,
Yes.
Vice Chair Chris.
Yes. Cassandra, thank you for your hieroglyphics.
Just in case.
Those are nice.
Wasn't that a game show one time back in the day?
Okay, it's resolution HA 1-22 is approved unanimously. We'll move on to the successor agency, SACC1. Are there any speaker cards?
At this time, anyone wishing to come in on SACC1, please press *9. I will announce the last 4 digits of your calling number when it is your turn to speak. Please state your name and eliminate any background noise. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Please press *9 at this time if you wish to come in on SACC1. No speakers at this time.
I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adopt resolution SA 3-22.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
City Council Member, Agency Director, Authority Member Doris,
Aye.
Molly,
Yes.
Mann,
Yes.
Vice Mayor, Vice Chairman Chris.
Yes. It passes unanimously. Okay, we're gonna move on to the consent calendar. we have any speaker cards on the consent calendar?
At this time, anyone wishing to comment on the consent calendar, please press *9. I will announce the last 4 digits of your calling number when it is your turn to speak. Please state your name and eliminate any background noise. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Please press *9 at this time if you wish to comment on any item on the consent calendar. No speakers at this time.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'm going to come off mute and make the motion to accept the consent calendar as comprised.
I second that too.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar as currently comprised. Roll call vote, please.
City Council Member, Agency Director, Authority Member Doris,
Aye.
Molly,
Yes.
Mann,
Yes.
Vice Mayor, Vice Chairman Christ.
Yes, and it passes unanimously. Okay, move on to council reports. Daryl?
Had a SCAG meeting, and let me see, I got a bunch of notes here that I want to make sure that I go over. There was a couple of items in our regional, in our meeting, the Regional Action Plan Grant Program, which is a $246 million that's going to be given to SCAG, which our part, 10%, which is about 24.6 million, can be used for planning and programs to be funded. We're requesting that SCAG use that money towards the North County. Somehow, again, the North County, Antelope Valley, Santa Clarita, the 14, the 138, we just keep getting skipped over. So I'm very adamant about making sure that we're included in that conversation. I was on a phone call and we had a lot of counties, Marvin, that were represented, but I didn't see Arthur was not there to be represented in that meeting for North County. And so myself, along with Marcia and different ones, made it clear that we want to be put in that conversation and to make sure that we get our fair share, that word again. So they promised us that we will be included in the next go-arounds of talks. We talked about transportation funding, and we found out that the safety of the freeways are getting just as bad as they were pre-pandemic. We found out that a lot of people are not riding transit. It could be because of Corona. They're finding out people don't want to be stuffed together. And so they're trying to incentivize by having free transit rides, free tickets, different things like that. But again, in areas like ourselves, it's not as feasible for people to be just riding transit with the way that we commute at times. So we were very adamant about making sure that while they want to fix the congestion and they want to do mobile share, we want them to make sure that they're looking at our situation and giving us, again, the fair share of monies, the fair share of consideration of what's going on in the North County. They also talked about housing production. And again, these numbers, they talked about the growth of California, and believe it or not, a lot of the growth predictions were backtracked. The growth is not happening in California as they predicted, but they are realizing that we do need housing still. And so we talked about those issues. So it is an expected growth over the next 5 to 10 years. And the building rates are below 2010. So they know we have to continue to build. Just, I guess the growth wasn't as robust as they figured it would be. A lot of people are leaving California, and that's just the bottom line. And I don't know what it is as far as, the housing part. They're trying to make sure that things are fair, making sure we bring in enough jobs, mortgage paying jobs, things of that nature, making sure that people can live in the state of California. So those are some of the things, Marvin, that we went over. It was a very lengthy meeting because we basically stayed on, again, fighting for freeways and fighting these new age thinking of rails instead of fixing our freeways. That turned into a major 2-hour conversation again. So we're really in a battle with.
Daryl, you want to go over the North County meeting, or is that part of it? Was that
Yeah.
part of it?
Well, we went over that meeting we had, I believe it was with Kern County and some other counties. You talking about that meeting that we had, the joint meeting?
No, it's the one where the Glendale mayor.
Remind me, Marvin, because I've had three different.
Ara runs it. He's from the North County.
Yes. Well, again, in our, there's a lot of requests coming down from the state. And I just think North County, we get left out. You know, you hear a lot that goes up in Fresno, you hear a lot that goes up in Sacramento, but they're not considering what's going on down in the bottom of, the southern part of California. And just the way that they're thinking, Marvin, they're willing to spend billions on rails and trains and different things that's not going to affect us and help our situation on the 14, help our situation on the 138, help the choke points that's happening. Marcia and ourselves, we're really battling. And then Kern County again jumps in it, and says they're having this. And we found out that a lot of the southern parts of California are having the same issues. And so one of the things that we have decided is, hey, we need to band together, because what they try to do, Vice Mayor, is make it seem like it's just an individual thing. Oh, this is just Lancaster, or this is just Santa Clarita, or that's just, when they find out that it's a conglomerate of cities that's really being affected by the way that they're distributing monies and distributing these fundings and not including us in the conversation, it's a major problem. And so,
Thank you, Daryl. We've been cut out of some of the major funding, just so everybody knows that it's a 10-year swing. So in 2016, we were using some of the money for the High Desert Corridor. The High Desert Corridor has been shut down except for the Bright Line part of it, the rail part of it. They're using some of the money for double tracking the Metrolink line to that. I'm assuming that they're going to bring the high-speed rail in to Palmdale and then double track it from the Metrolink out. But that doesn't give us the fix on, they no longer call them choke points. They call them safety hazards. So the safety hazards on the choke points, there's 9 of them on the AV freeway. We're trying to get that fixed. We're working on 6 of them. There's 4 that haven't been addressed, but because in 2016, we addressed the High Desert Corridor money, that money has to be reallocated by Metro to us and where we want it. So we're trying to get it allocated and get some shovel-ready fixes for the safety hazards on the 14 freeway. We have 85,000 members of the Antelope Valley that commute down the hill each morning. So it's a major, major hazard.
Marvin, you jarred my memory on that, because that's the first thing. The safety numbers are as high or higher now than they were pre-pandemic, and they realize that. But for whatever reason, this is something that caused a big argument. They flat out said that they were not enlarging the freeways anymore. And we all raised our hands. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Well, what are you saying? Well, it has to be a safety issue. Well, that's a semantic. To me, those words play. That's wordplay, because all of it is a safety issue. If people are speeding, if it's folks are being impatient because they're in traffic for 5, 6 hours. Me and Jason came back from a meeting in Laguna, and it took us almost 4.5, 5 hours to get home. And half of that traffic was me and Mr. Cotto on the 14 freeway. It was stronger than the 405. It was unbelievable. I don't think these people that are making these decisions are riding our freeways. And so, yes, we really asked them, and then it seems like they're changing the wording of what we put in for safety. All of a sudden it's getting booted out. Well, that's not safety. And Trolise and I and different ones from the staff and the city, we were really asked and making sure, tell us what it is we need to say and how we need to say it to get these things done. So we, again, like you said, Marvin, we want our fair share. We are letting it be known. We don't need no more rails. We don't need to spend $1 billion on this Bright Line that we're spending, and our freeways are a mess. It just doesn't make sense.
Yes, we need to fix the hazards that are already there, not create new ones.
Right.
Appreciate it. Ken, do you have anything?
No, all good.
Raj?
I did not this time.
Okay. The only thing I have is to bring up is the, I think it's the new, Jason, correct me, 1383, is it the waste management problem where we have to start doing food waste?
Correct. Yeah, state law passed. I think that's the number that requires green waste and food waste recycling, and that some of those changes we have to make are coming forward to you soon.
I just want to make it clear to everyone: this is not waste management creating new ways to mess with you. It is the state, and the byproduct of it is we have to remain status quo. We have to start raising the rates of, not we, but Waste Management will raise the rates of your trash pickup because of the requirements of the state. And if people understand what's creating the homelessness, creating everything, they keep putting all these burdens on the homeowner, on that about the food waste. It has to be in a different product. It can't go in the landfill anymore. We have to ship it to a special area, stuff that we've been doing for years. So they don't think that's productive anymore. So it's going to cost between $4 and $8 extra per month on your waste management bill, which to me is, we're fighting against it. It's not waste management. It's mandated by the state of California. I don't agree with it, but it's something that everybody needs to be putting on the radar because it's coming down the hill. And Jason, can we start looking into it and make sure everyone's aware of it? Maybe do a presentation next month or next meeting.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. There is an ordinance that is required to pass for us to comply with the state. That'll be coming forward to you. And then the actual implementation of that ordinance we have some time to do that. But nonetheless, we have some time to make sure we educate the public and start doing those kind of outreaches. One note is a lot of these legislators pass these laws and assume they sound good when they pass them, and not sharing the realism that somebody has to foot the bill at the end of the day. And that's the real challenge, is we have Sacramento again, identifying these really good ideas that end up, they don't pay for, we do.
So perhaps, Jason, we can also, in the next upcoming newsletter, perhaps we write a piece and make sure it's in there. Because, again, the citizens, the first thing they're going to do is react and think city government's doing it, when in reality, it's all coming out of Sacramento. So I think we ought to be candid about exactly what's taking place.
Allison,
Absolutely.
Isn't there a $10,000 a day fine that if we don't pass this ordinance?
Correct. We do need to pass the ordinance, and it'll be coming to you, I believe, at the next council meeting. We're working through some final, details, and we're complying with state law and not going farther than what state law requires.
Yeah, I just think we need to do a better job, because again, when you're out on the street, what you hear, oh, here goes the city again. And it's like, hold on. You need to vent or direct that at the county level and up, because invariably people just don't understand. All we're doing is executing, what's thrusted on us. And then again, people get frustrated with us, not realizing that it's coming either from the county or in this case, it's from Sacramento.
So anyway, let's bring it to a head, make sure everyone's aware of it.
We will. Plan to do that.
Appreciate it. Anything else, council? Okay, we'll move on to, there's nothing from the Lancaster Choice Energy, nothing from finance, nothing from the power. City manager.
A couple things. Thank you. Just to reiterate on the COVID conversation, our testing site is still open and the vaccination site is still open. we'll be announcing and proudly announcing tomorrow that we have 100,000 vaccines that have been distributed through our partnership with Kaiser, other medical providers in the fairgrounds. So that's an exciting milestone. The testing site is open 7 days a week, 7 to 7. It's free to everybody. So if you've been going out to a Super Bowl party, do whatever you got going on, head over to the testing site, do it now, get tested ahead of time. Be smart about that. It is absolutely free. It is absolutely easy. You just get your QR code and you can go through there as many times as you want. So we encourage people to get tested. The Parks Department, there's going to be a fun event. So mark your calendars. And on March 26th, we'll be coming out with some announcements about that shortly. It'll involve music and fun. So we'll keep you posted as we put details around that. And of course, we talked about the Poppy Festival, April 22nd to the 24th. I know we talked about it last week, but just reminding people to mark their calendars. And Sky Tower Park renovations have begun. As the council is very well, I don't know if the public is, but the council has put a strict requirement on us to maintain our facilities and be good stewards of our facilities. The city is 40 years old, so that means most of our facilities are 40 years old. Sky Tower Park is included in that. It's going through a complete renovation, ballparks, insides, roofing, air conditioning systems, all those types of things. So those that are living in the Sky Tower neighborhood will see some of those improvements and hopefully have not just a brand new park, but a much, much better renovated park, which we're excited to see. And that is all I have. There is one video I have to show, and Daryl missed it with his cue, but they had a bike donation giveaway.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you was going to do it, Jason.
No. So just a short video, and that'll conclude my presentation.
Hello, I'm Councilman Daryl Doris in the beautiful city of Lancaster, California, and I'm here with one of the most phenomenal men that I've seen so far in this city. We are so filled and so blessed to have men and business owners like Ken Bayard. He is doing a phenomenal event.
Yeah, so we're super excited to see the turnout here today at this bicycle recycle event, and I think one of the most rewarding things is just to see people, driving through who are giving, something that was meaningful to them that's going to go and be meaningful now to somebody else once we get it refurbished. So very excited to help get these bikes fixed up and given away to some kids or maybe some vets that might need some transportation. And today was very rewarding, but I think the day that we get to give these bikes away will be even more rewarding.
Daryl, looking good in those new jackets.
Hey, I love our city swag. Marvin, are we still allowing the cards to be used? Are there new Valentine's Day cards, or what's going on with that?
I think the cards are still in effect till the end of February.
Okay. I know the people that we've passed out to, a lot of the CBOs and churches, they are really loving using the cards. I was wondering how long they were extended to. So.
Yeah, to the end of February. Then we'll take a look at it and see where we are, see how many, and maybe look at extending it maybe another month.
Okay.
So that's good. City Clerk.
At this time, anyone wishing to comment on non-agendized matters, please press *9. I will announce the last 4 digits of your calling number when it is your turn to speak. Please state your name and eliminate any background noise. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Please keep in mind that state law prohibits the city council from acting on items not listed on the agenda, and your matter may be referred to the city manager. Please press *9 at this time if you wish to comment on non-agendized matters. Caller with the last 4 digits, 7232. Please press *6 to unmute yourself.
Good evening, City Council, Vice Mayor Chris, and members of the panel. This is Fran Saras. You can't hear me, right? I guess I'll be looking at your face. Okay, thank you. I have a few things that I would like to speak on tonight. First of all, on the waste management situation we just talked about, that's kind of expensive because even from $4 a month extra that we have to pay to separate our garbage, and people usually don't have that much garbage to separate, and it's almost as much as paying for all your trash, your trash, your disposables and your green grass. So that to me seems awfully high. And don't forget, we got people, a lot of people, not just here, but all over that can't afford that kind of an expense. But anyway, I said what I had to say about that. But I also wanted to bring up the fact that the Lancaster Planning Commission has extended a 3-year extension for cultivating and manufacturing cannabis on the east side of Lancaster. I'm a little confused because I thought last year or so we were fighting or working to get all this illegal cannabis out of the valley, especially towards Rosemont and here in the Lancaster city limits. And so I'm confused why they're allowing this to happen. I know maybe like Catherine Barger mentioned, they're not making cannabis illegal. It's just a matter of the impact that it has to our people, to our community. And it's so close. It seems so close to the community, the houses in the neighborhood. And my next thing I would like to mention is graffiti that's along the Sierra Highway, but looking at the back of buildings along the Metrolink Railroad. I mean, I've never seen Lancaster so terribly loaded with graffiti as I'm seeing now. I'm wondering what's happening with that. It's so obvious and you can't miss it. And it's from here all the way going towards Palmdale. I saw it because I was going on the Metrolink and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Another thing I want to mention is I was on Access coming home on Sierra Highway. I don't know how to put this gingerly because there's no easy way of saying this. On Sierra Highway by the 7-Eleven store close to Antelope Valley University, they are, I've been told for several people, this isn't, when I saw it, I couldn't believe it. I saw women, how do you say it, of the night, streetwalkers, which I had never seen, because I know when I first moved up here to Lancaster some 20 plus years ago, you cleaned all that up.
Your 3 minutes are up.
Okay, thank you for listening to me. God bless you all, and thank you again.
Thank you, Fran. Any more?
No other speakers at this time.
Okay.
Arvin, I will say over in that area of Fran, that's where my church is.
Right.
We are starting to see some prostitution towards that area, between that area on towards M. I thought we had started noticing it more and more. It's starting to get a little bolder. Fran is right. So much so that they, as cold as it is, you know what they're doing by the way that they're dressed.
Absolutely. And those that are against that should call Gascon, because they are being arrested. They are being, detained, but they're not being prosecuted.
Right.
So they should sign that petition for Gascon to recall him so we can actually fix the problem.
Right.
So
along with the graffiti, because I'm getting hit up really strong with that. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We can address that. That's one thing that Fran brought up that we can address. And Jason, let's make sure that the crews that we have are still out there doing what they're supposed to be doing, eliminating that.
Yes, our crews are very aggressive and will identify that site and get on it.
Okay.
They have a very good track record and they work hard at it.
Yes, they do. Yeah, they do.
Thank you. John, did you want to say anything? Good.
You want to root the Rams on? Go Rams.
Okay. Any of the council members like to say anything else? Okay. With that, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night, Lancaster. Good night.
Night.
Recording stopped.